The sun hung like a molten coin, burning the sky white. Ren dragged his boots through the shifting dunes, each step a calculated war against the sinking sand. His canteen had rattled empty 3 days ago. Every movement sent a jolt of pain through his joints. His tongue felt like a dry, curled leaf against the roof of his mouth. He scanned the horizon, his eyes bloodshot and stinging from the relentless grit. There was only the endless, undulating, orange expanse, stretching toward a horizon that never seemed to get any closer. He pushed forward, his muscles screaming with every stride. Suddenly, a violent gust of wind whipped across the ridge, carrying a wall of stinging dust. Ren slammed his eyes shut, turning his back to the gale. He crouched, fingers digging deep into the scorching sand to anchor himself. The wind roared, a hollow, mocking sound that vibrated in his chest. Then, as quickly as it had arrived, the air went still. Ren forced himself upright, his knees trembling. He fixed his gaze ahead and forced his feet to move. Then, the horizon fractured. A pool of liquid silver appeared, rippling under the heat. Ren stopped. He blinked, rubbing his eyes with calloused, trembling fingers, expecting the heat to dissolve the image. The lake remained. It was a perfect, cool blue, framed by the shimmering haze. He stared, his breath hitching in his chest. The sight of it was a physical blow. He took a tentative step, then another, his eyes locked onto the surface. The blue was so vivid it felt like a promise. He lunged forward, his pace quickened into a desperate, stumbling run. He imagined the water soaking into his cracked skin, the coolness washing away the grit. His lungs burned, his heart hammering like a trapped bird. He only cared about the water. He reached out his hand, fingers grasping at the air, but the blue surface retreated. He pushed harder, his stride lengthening into a frantic, uncoordinated sprint. He was a man possessed, chasing a ghost. He sprinted until his legs buckled. The blue surface stayed exactly where it was, a taunting, unreachable smear of color against the white-hot sky. He hit the ground hard, face first into the sand. The impact knocked the wind from his lungs, leaving him gasping for air that felt like steam. He tried to push himself up, but his arms shook violently, refusing to hold his weight. He collapsed again, cheek pressed against the abrasive, burning grit. He clawed at the ground, his fingernails filling with sand, dragging his body forward by inches. The lake did not move. It shimmered, a perfect, impossible lie. He let out a sound, a jagged, broken sob that tore at his raw throat. He stopped fighting. His fingers went limp in the sand. The silence of the desert rushed back in, absolute and indifferent. He lay there, his chest heaving, his eyes fixed on the horizon until the light blurred into a gray haze. The hope that had driven him for miles evaporated, leaving only the crushing weight of the sun and the absolute certainty of his own failure. He was alone, and the water was never there. Hours bled into one another. Ren lay motionless, his breath shallow, his vision tunneling. Then, a shadow fell across his face. He blinked, struggling to focus. An old man stood over him, perfectly still, his presence cutting through the heat haze. Ren pointed a shaking, grit-caked finger at the horizon. "The water," he rasped, his voice a jagged, dry whisper. "I have to reach it." The old man did not turn to look at the shimmering light. He looked down at Ren. "That is not water," the old man said. Ren tried to push himself up, his knees wobbling. "I see it. It is right there." The old man sat down, his movements slow and deliberate, unbothered by the furnace-like air. "You see a reflection of your own thirst," he replied. "Your mind is painting a picture of what you want, not what is." Ren stared at the light. "Why does it feel so real?" Ren demanded. The old man picked up a handful of sand and let it slip through his fingers. Ren stood up. His legs wobbled, then locked into place, steadying against the shifting ground. He looked toward the horizon one last time. The blue light shimmered, a beautiful, empty lie, but he did not reach for it. He turned his back on the mirage. The desert heat pressed against his skin, and his throat remained parched, yet the suffocating weight in his chest had vanished. He took a single, measured step forward, then another. He walked not toward the promise of a dream, but toward the reality of the path. Each stride was deliberate, grounded, and his own. He did not look back at the fading light. He kept his eyes on the path ahead, moving steadily through the dunes, one step at a time, into the vast, silent expanse of the desert.